Welcome to Things You Should Know, Civil War Edition. Today we're going to talk about the Battle of Hampton Roads, located in Hampton Roads, Virginia on March 8th and 9th, 1862. The Battle of Hampton Roads, more famously known as the Battle of the Monitor versus the Merrimac, started after the Confederates utilized the captured Navy facilities at Norfolk. There, they converted a scuttled steam frigate, the USS Merrimac, which had been sunk by the Union at the dock. The Confederates raised the ship and moved her to a graving dock and replaced her wooden superstructure with an iron-covered citadel that mounted 10 guns. It was then renamed the CSS Virginia. On March 8th, the Confederate naval captain Franklin Buchanan steamed down into Hampton Roads, a known Union blockade base. The purpose was to lift the blockade of the James River by the Union. There, it ran into the USS Cumberland, USS Congress, and the USS Minnesota, 3 wooden naval ships, one of them a 50-gun frigate that were guarding the base. The Virginia, otherwise known as the Merrimac to the Union, rammed the Cumberland, sinking her, and then began to shell the Congress until she caught on fire and was forced onto the beach. While this happened, the base at Newport News Point had wounded Captain Buchanan in return. The Merrimac pursued the Minnesota, damaging it, but could not follow the retreat of the Minnesota as the Merrimac's armor had added so much weight that it sunk too deeply into water to follow into the shallows. The Merrimac then retired for the day, intending to come back the next day to sink the USS Minnesota. The fighting that day made it clear that wooden ships would be obsolete against these new metal behemoths, as the Merrimac had suffered no significant damage in the battle. The next day, the U.S. fleet called in their own ironclad ship, the USS Monitor. It had a newer design that included a revolutionary revolving turret with a shallower draft. This meant it didn't sink into the water as far as the Merrimac did. It also had faster engines that could move faster than the Virginia. They met and exchanged fire with each other, inflicting minimal damage against their armored hulls. The captain of the Monitor, Lieutenant John L. Worden, was injured, but not severely, which caused the Monitor to hesitate. The Virginia took advantage of this and returned back to Norfolk. While neither ship had won that fight, it changed naval warfare forever, making wooden ships obsolete that day. The estimated casualties, including wounded and killed, were 409 Union sailors, mostly on the 3 wooden ships, and 24 Confederate sailors off the Virginia. Please join us next time on Things You Should Know, Civil War Edition.